decided to do was do something outward facing that's not Jackpot. And so we decided to do something called Mind Your Business, and that's taken off of a penny that Benjamin Franklin designed. Hey, and so that's where the name comes from, because I really like the dual purpose idea of mind your business. So we stole that and we started doing this, which you're at right now. And tonight we have Jesse and we have Colby. He's texting me right now. He is a marketer. He's a connoisseur of tattoos. He's a lover of tattoos. And he is helping out the industry by, right now, he's got probably over 80 shops that he works with to help them get off the ground. And, you know, we talk about oversaturation. We talk about feeling invisible in the online. We talk about, you know, everyone's got their basic idea of how ads work. And everyone says, oh, they don't work. Well, you know, the thing of it is, if they didn't work, then why would they have them? You know, I learned a couple of things just this week that Jesse's going to help me out with this, that a boost is not an ad. Is that right, Jesse?
Yeah, it's essentially an easy way to kind of get stuff out there, but you're losing all the things that make an ad so effective. Sounds good. I'm going to share my screen really quick, and then we'll get going. What's up? Can you guys see my screen? Cool.
Yes.
Awesome. So essentially what we're going to go over today is a kind of marketing 101. There's a lot of information we're going to go over in it, trying to condense it into an hour. So if you have questions after, just let me know. Or we have a YouTube channel, we have a podcast. Anything we're going to talk about today, we've done webinars on and go way more in depth, and those are free on YouTube. We teach literally everything we do if artists and shop owners want to do it. So yeah, this is kind of part of our tattoo shop growth program. Essentially, bringing in new clients is obviously huge, but also getting past clients to come back more often is not something a lot of shops and artists do. They're not super proactive about it. And then building a brand. Now, I mean, it's great if your shop has 20,000 followers, but if they're all over the world, it's going to do less for you than if you have 1,000 followers within 10 miles of your shop. So when we talk about building a brand, that's kind of what we're talking about, is actually building a local following, that people that can actually come into your shop and make you money. So who am I? My name is Jesse. I'm the owner of InkLink. We're a marketing company that works exclusively with tattoo shops. We've got a little over 80 now here in the US and a few internationally. I have personally used everything that I teach to grow my own businesses. In the last 4 years, I've grown 2 businesses to over $1 million a year. And last year I grew a third one to 6 figures in 2.5 months. And the only reason I said that isn't to brag and be like, oh, look at me. It's that this stuff works. And I know this works. And why I'm so passionate about it is because I've done it for myself multiple times. I've worked in marketing for about 8 years. And last year we spent a little over $2 million in advertising between us, the shops we work with. Before people ask, yes, I do have tattoos. I've been getting tattooed for about 19 years. We go to conventions, we do seminars. The tattoo industry is, as you guys know, unique and full of interesting and colorful people, but really great people for the most part. And it's been really fun to work with all you guys. So kind of what we are going to cover today, like I said, marketing 101. We're going to go over the most important numbers a shop owner or an artist should know, which is your client's LTV, which is the lifetime value, your past client list, which is a gold mine that almost no shops use. We talk to a lot of tattoo shops, and almost nobody does anything with their past client list. Your shop's Google My Business, using meta ads, using Google ads, the follow-up process, which is huge. I mean, besides getting people to actually see your shop and call a shop or fill out a form for a consultation, the biggest problem we see is the communication between a shop or an artist and somebody who is trying to get tattooed by them. It's wild how hard and how much friction some shops and artists will put into that process just to get someone to talk to them. And then the last thing is the ultimate AI tool for tattoo shops. I know AI is a bit of a controversial subject in the tattoo industry, but you can do some really cool stuff that's not only going to help your shop get more people in it, but also save you a ton of time, especially if you don't have a front desk person or your front desk person isn't always the most friendly, which tends to happen fairly often. Okay, so why is this stuff important? So everybody's seen how much the tattoo industry has grown since COVID. It's projected to double again in the next 5 years, which is absolutely insane. Everybody see how many shops have popped up, how many artists have come into the trade. Imagine double that in 5 years. And, this isn't just speculation. There's been plenty of articles and research done on it. Business Insider, Forbes magazine, a handful of more actual technical magazines have done studies on this. It's one of the fastest growing industries in the US for its size. Doing this stuff that we're going to talk about puts you ahead of almost all other shops. Again, we have worked with some pretty big franchises and we work with some pretty darn big shops. And even those guys don't do this stuff. And it's in almost any other industry, like the most basic thing you would do to start a company and start attracting new clients. But what we're going to see as this industry gets bigger and more competitive is the stuff we're talking about now that's not standard is going to become that if you want to survive. You can like it, you can hate it, but the industry's growing, things are changing. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, unfortunately. And again, you're wasting time and money. There's so many little tricks and cool things you can do to help you guys stand out. And everything we talk about, this isn't theory. I'm not like guessing. I'm like, hey, I think this might work. This could probably work. Like anything that we talk about, we have the data to back it up. Again, we spend a ton of money on advertising. We work with a ton of shops. We see the conversations. Everything we talk about is backed by the data we have seen, not only by us, but in some instances, studies done by places like Microsoft, HubSpot, Salesforce, these gigantic companies that have put millions of dollars into research for some of these things, especially when it comes to the communication aspect. Okay, so, and again, I'm going to go kind of fast because I have a lot and I've got about an hour. If you have questions after, let me know. So the most important number for a shop to know, I've only met one shop. I have talked to hundreds and hundreds of shop owners and hundreds of artists. I've met one shop owner that knew the lifetime value of a client. So what is the lifetime value of a client? It's essentially, on average, what a client is going to spend in your shop. And why this is important is what you can spend to acquire a new client. So let's say depending how long your shop's been around, you can go back 5 years. You want to take how much revenue your shop has made and divide it by how many clients you have. Not the number of tattoos, but the actual number of clients. And that will give you the lifetime value of a client approximately. Now, the further you can go back, the more accurate these numbers become. They're never 100% perfect, but it'll start to give you a good idea of what a new client is worth for you. And again, it's an average. Some are going to be more, some are going to be less, but approximately how much you'll make over, like if you're marketing for 2 years, on average what a new client is going to bring you. Now for the goal, if you are marketing, you want to spend 6 to 12% of that person's lifetime value in order to acquire them. So what does that look like? If the lifetime value is $1,000, you can spend 6 to 12%. You should be sending $60 to $120 to acquire a new client. Now, obviously, this is going to change if you have a higher LTV, if you have a lower LTV, but this is a number all shop owners, all artists should know, even if you're not doing paid marketing, because you can kind of get a good idea of how much you can scale and things you can do. This is like a must-know number. And again, in almost any other industry, this is like stuff people know off the top of their head. It's just really, really good information. Now, the easiest way to make your shop and artist more money is to raise the lifetime value of a single client. I know everybody preaches charge more, and honestly, a lot of shop owners and artists can charge more. I mean, prices have been the same for quite a while, but the easiest way, as long as people have a good time in your shop, you have a good reputation, people have a good experience, you do good work. The easiest way to make your shop more profitable is to get people to come back in more often. People will pretty much use any excuse to get tattooed. It's not a hard thing, but almost no shops will actually put any time into trying to get clients back in. And again, it doesn't have to be like big, spammy, annoying things, but sending out a text, a couple things that we'll kind of get into. But if you're trying to figure out the easiest way to make your shop more profitable, getting a client, just any client to come back one more time. If you had every single client you'd had come back one more time, you would be doing a lot better, probably. At least have a lot more extra money sitting around. Okay, next part is building a past client list. If there's one thing to take action on today, if you are not doing this, this is it. This is the gold mine. This is the game changer over a long enough time horizon. If you plan on being in business for more than the next year, this is the one thing I'll tell you guys to do. And it's so stupidly cheap or free, depending on what you do or what software you use. So the power of a past client list. So as you guys know, anytime somebody gets tattooed, they have to fill out a waiver. So you're getting that person's contact information. What you can do with that and what we do with it for shops is we'll send out a text for a review after somebody fills out that waiver. They'll automatically get a text the next day asking for a review on Google. And I'm going to show you an example in just a second of how well that works. Because artists feel awkward asking for reviews. People typically are super happy to give them. They're thrilled. They just got a tattoo. 98% of the time they're happy to do it. Artists feel weird talking to them, but it's such a big thing for your shop. And again, I'll show you an example in just a second of that. We also do a referral program. So anytime somebody fills out that waiver, another text will get us, hey, for any new person that you refer that comes in and actually gets a tattoo, we'll give you, the person that's doing the referring, a $50 gift certificate. Now, obviously, it's got to be a new person, someone that's never been in your shop before, but I'll pay $50 all day for a new client, especially if you know what your lifetime value is. That's a no-brainer. And again, this stuff becomes automatic with using your past client list. And then stuff like sending out birthday texts, holiday texts, all this stuff can be automated, but it makes you stand out so much more than any other shop. When you start to build past client list, anytime you have a guest artist coming into town, you can get them booked out by sending a text to your past clients. You can let everyone know about upcoming events. I mean, obviously flash stuff is usually pretty booked, but if you're doing charity events or anything like that, you can use it in Meta to build a lookalike audience. If you are running Meta ads and you are not, like Instagram ads, Facebook, and you are not using a lookalike audience, you are not doing it correctly. You can upload your audience and Meta will find people that look like the people you have already tattooed and then show them the ads. Super powerful. That is how you are going to get your best results. And then during slow season, end of October, beginning of November, when stuff really starts to drop off, again, people will use any kind of excuse to come get tattooed. You have a past client list of a couple hundred people. You send out a text, hey, if you come in within the next week, I'll give you 10% off or a free hat or free aftercare product. It can be the tiniest little thing. People will respond to that. Typically, we'll see 8 to 12% of a past clients list jump onto the offer and come get tattooed for that 10% off or that free aftercare product. So it's extremely powerful. And really quick, I'm going to share one other screen. To do with what I was talking about with sending out the waivers. So this is a shop actually here in Monachi where I live. This is my buddy's shop. He owns it. He has been here for going on 11 years. We started doing this thing where the past clients or when people filled out a waiver, they got a text asking for a review about 8 months ago, 7-8 months ago. Before that, he'd been in business for 10 years. He had 72 reviews with a 4.6. 7 months later, he has a 4.9 with 298 reviews on Google, and it's all automated. And And I know sometimes we get some people worried about, hey, well, what if people just leave negative reviews? And I'll tell you this, he has 4 negative reviews and none of them have come within the last year. Well, that one 10 months, but that was before we were doing that. Since we've been doing it for about 7. But typically, especially if you put, hey, if you had anything less than a 5-star experience, just contact our shop in that text. We'll take care of it. You're not going to get bad reviews. We don't see it happen. One other thing I want to point out. So if you look up Wenatchee Tattoo Shops, which is where I live, this is him right here. Where do you think people are going to go? The guy that's got 4.9 with 300 reviews, or the 4.7 with 170, or the 4.8 with 32? Every single person that sees this is going to go to that 4.9 with 300 reviews. It's all automated. He doesn't have to do anything. These come in automatically. And on top of that, it'll get you higher in this little Google Map 3-pack because you're getting so many reviews. So makes a pretty darn big difference. And again, it's automated. There's a couple of different softwares you can use to collect past clients. I'm just going to go over two of them. Jotform, if you're a single artist or you have a small shop and you don't want to spend money on doing the waivers, Jotform, you can do it for free, up to 100 waivers per month. Again, it's free. There's no reason not to do it. It takes you 20 minutes to set it up. We use Go High Level. It's about $100 a month, but it includes that ability to send out text messages when somebody fills out a waiver, or text all your past clients as a mass text, stuff like that. So those are the two we use. There's a handful of other ones. I'm sure you guys have seen, like Tattoo Release Forms, Tattoo Pro. Those tend to be a little more expensive, but they're like point of sale systems, scheduling, stuff like that. Jotform, Go High Level are the two I would highly recommend. So, and if you are still on paper, it's a pain in the butt. I promise it doesn't take as long as it sounds. Especially if you have an apprentice and they need something to do, go get your waivers from the last 3 years. Have that apprentice go into an Excel sheet and just put first name and phone number, first name, phone number, first name, phone number. And you can build, because everybody has to at least, you have to have waivers. Hopefully most of you guys do. Hopefully all of you guys do. But that's a good way if you're not on a digital form already, to get the last 3 years. If you have at least a few hundred, if not a few thousand, worth its weight in gold. I think if you have like 3,000 people the last 3 years, yeah, it's going to take some time, but every time you send out a text, 8 to 12% of those come in. That's what, almost 300 people. I would take some time to do that. Okay, fixing your Google My Business. This is, I'm going to show you, because I took this picture, I don't know, probably a month and a half, 2 months ago. Same studio, so he's gained another almost 80 reviews in that time. But your Google My Business, I know most shops have it. A few things people don't know about it. Google likes to see that you're active on it. You can have less reviews, you can have worse reviews than other shops, but if Google sees that you're active on your Google My Business profile, it will show you above other people. Google cares about, obviously, your reputation, but at the end of the day, even if it's, we've seen shops that have a 4.7 with 30 reviews beat out shops that have 4.8 with 100 reviews, because they're active on their Google My Business, because that's what Google wants. Google wants you to be interactive with people that are being shown.
Are you fucking serious?
I am serious. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you, Jessica. So on it, just make sure everything's filled out. Make sure there's no blank things, phone number, hours, the kind of services you guys do. Under the FAQ, just get your frequently asked questions. You can ask them and you can answer them. Just put your shop minimum. Do you do piercings? All the questions you get all the time. Connect your social media accounts, add your website if you have one, and add good images. Something a lot of people don't know about your Google My Business is you can post to it like you can post to Instagram. And that's one of those things that Google sees as you being active. Now, it's not, you don't have to do it that often. You can do it once a week and that's totally fine. But just doing it makes a huge, huge difference. And then responding to all reviews. If they're good, if they're bad and they make you mad, wait a couple minutes before you do it and calm down, or have the wife or husband do it. But respond to all the reviews and don't just say thanks. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or long, but once a week, sit down, go through the reviews from the last week and just respond to them. Another thing that shows Google that you're active. Posting to your GMB. If you use Chrome and you look up Google My Business, you'll see this pop up. Just go to add photo. You can post stuff. All right, running paid ads. Where we at? Okay, advertising on Meta. We're going to go over Meta and Google. Each have their place. Each are good at some things, terrible at others. It really depends, one, what your budget is, and two, what you're looking for. Honestly, we see better results for bigger specialized pieces coming from Meta than we do from Google. But with Google, it's somebody actually looking for a tattoo shop. So there's pros and cons to both. So if you are running ads, kind of like we were talking about before we got started, you should be running them out of the ads manager. If you go to adsmanager.facebook.com, this will pop up. This is where you should be running your ads. We have a full webinar on this. It's free on YouTube. We did it. It's pretty recent. I think it was within the last 3 months. You could also, if you're looking at your page on the left-hand side, there's should be something that says Ads Manager. But if it takes you to anything that looks different than this, use the adsmanager.facebook.com. If you use Meta enough, you know it can be a shit show. So this is the guaranteed way to get here. But this is where all your ads should be run from. And why should you do that? Is the targeting options on this are amazing. If you, like I talked about, you upload a past client list, so Meta knows what your clients look like, and then you can segment them by income range, which is a game changer. And again, almost no shops know this. You can exclude the bottom 50% of income, and it goes by zip code and a few other things. But that's going to get rid of a lot of your tire kickers. That's going to get a lot of the people just asking for a price, or, hey, I got $200. Can I get a half sleeve? If you want to get rid of those people, yeah, add that income range. It's big. And if you're in a bigger city, like you're in Dallas, San Francisco, New York, LA, you can do the top 10% of incomes, especially if you're just looking for large scale pieces and you got great work, you have great work. This is the best way to do that. You can also decide where your ads are shown, Facebook, Messenger, Instagram. We typically will do, and the audience network, which is kind of display ads, which is a topic for a different day. But we see, again, depending on what you're looking for, a lot of people think Instagram is going to be the best. If you're looking for larger scale pieces, Facebook works just as well, sometimes better, because as much as I hate to say this and it pains me, it's for an older audience now than Instagram is. So it's typically people that, for the most part, are going to have more money. You can choose the campaign type. There's a million different campaigns. Again, we teach it in our webinar that's on YouTube, but there's certain ones you should be using and shouldn't be using. Much better analytics, and ads run indefinitely. Like if you're boosting posts and you're setting like, hey, I want this to run for 7 days for $50, and that's super successful and it shuts off, no matter what, I don't know what it is with Meta, when you start that up again, because it's been doing so well, it's not gonna work as well as it did the first time. It's one of Meta's little quirks. And so here's an example of a successful ad. It doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't need some insane offer like, hey, get 50% off or something like that. Get a free consultation is a call to action that always works. And again, this isn't super fancy. Like people, for the most part, don't like ads. Like I love ads because I like the psychology behind them. 99% of people don't like ads. So honestly, the less your actual ad looks like an ad, typically the better it does. If you own a shop and you have multiple different styles, put as many different styles, put black and gray, put color, put fine line, put Japanese or anime or whatever else you can do, but show off as many styles as you can. If you are a single artist and you're just looking for bigger pieces, just put what you do. Put what you want on here. Like we have an artist that only does large scale black and gray. All of these are only large scale black and gray pieces. So people know what they're getting into before they actually click on the ad. But you can literally copy and paste this. I don't care. It works every single time. Obviously change out the location and don't use form on Facebook. But that is a ad that works every single time we use it. How do you upload your client list into Meta? If you go onto YouTube and you look at our webinar we did probably 2 months ago, it will show you how to do that. If I have time at the end of this, I'll show you as well. It's fairly simple. But yeah, if we get to it, I'll definitely show you guys. Okay, so how to make Meta ads successful. A lot of people think they aren't. They work great. I have used them for all my businesses. It's just about making sure your ads are being shown to the correct people at the correct time. Like, I don't care how good your ads look or how good the copy, which is the words are on it, or what the offer is. If they're being shown to a 65-year-old lady that's just leaving church, she's probably not going to come into your tattoo shop. So making sure it's getting to the right people and the people that can afford it. That is the big key. Split testing is key. Never run just one ad, run at least 3 ads and change the image in it. That's if you do that, you're ahead of the curve. You must have solid follow-up in place. We'll get into that. Do not email, call and text if somebody fills out a form. And again, we'll get into that again later. We have the stats. It is drives me nuts when people email, unless you are over 45. Nobody uses email, especially outside of a workplace. Automate as much as possible. When we talk about the follow-up process, it can be a lot. We're not annoying with it, but if you were doing this manually and you had a bunch of people filling out forms, it would take a while. So we'll show you how to automate as much as possible. Set up an AI booking bot. Again, we'll show you more about that later, but that's been a game changer for a lot of shops, especially if they don't have a front desk person. What type of rise are you seeing with shops you work with? So it really depends. I mean, one of our best cases is actually the single artist that we work with, or the single artist, because they're only doing large scale pieces and there's less moving parts. But you should be aiming for at least an absolute minimum, if you're doing this yourself, of a 1-to-4 ratio. So if you're spending $1, you should at a minimum be making 4, and ideally closer to 7 to 12. This is our podcast. This is our link on YouTube. We have about 50 podcast episodes. We have all different amazing type of people on there, shop owners, successful artists, stuff like that. And then InkLink, you can find all of our old webinars. And you can see us like 3 times. Because again, everything we talk about is stuff that we teach. And we've done webinars on. So advertising your shop using Google Ads. The best part about Google Ads is it's people looking for a tattoo shop. There is so much intent behind it. For somebody scrolling through social media, they see your ad. You will, even with correct targeting, have a lower actual acquisition rate on Google, because it's actually people looking for, again, for tattoo shops. Like I said, there's pros and cons to both. But thing about Google Ads is there's smart mode and there's expert mode. If you have not manually turned your account into expert mode, it is in smart mode by default. If you're new to Google Ads, it works well. It's super easy to set up. Again, there's a few things to finesse with that as well. You don't need a website. You can send people to your Google My Business. Now, the issue with that is you lose a lot of the targeting options. The conversion tracking needs to be fixed. Like Google and Smart Ads will say somebody clicking on your ad or clicking for directions is a conversion. You want it to be when somebody calls your shop and is on the phone for more than a minute, or at least 45 seconds. Because then they're actually talking about coming in, or a tattoo idea or something like that. Or somebody fills out a form, and the results are not as good as they are in expert mode. Expert mode is how we set up ads for the shops we work with. Much more control of your ads, much better results after dialing stuff in. And when we say dialing stuff in, for us, it can take usually about a week to start getting people to call and fill out forms. It'll take us about a month to get dialed in. If you're doing this on your own, or you're hiring a different marketing company, you're going to be looking probably 3 to 5 months if they don't have any actual history with the industry and they don't know keywords, stuff like that. And I'll tell you, most marketing companies don't have much experience in the tattoo industry. But there's a much steeper learning curve. And this is the one thing I'm going to talk about today that I would say I would recommend hiring somebody if you're going to do expert mode. It's a lot. It's a lot. And there's a lot of stuff you can do. And here's my example. Like, expert mode is not set it and forget it. So this is an actual client. This is from May 1st to October 30th in their Google Ads account. We made almost 550 changes. Small little tweaks, small little adjustments. If you set it and forget it, it's not going to work very well. You're better in smart mode. But once you get it dialed in and you're getting those perfect people to come in for the kind of stuff you want, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so Google Ads will not work if you do not answer your phone. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but you'd be amazed how many times we see shops and artists not answering the phone. If you reply via email, this does not work. And if you don't get back to people quickly, this does not work, especially if you're more of a street shop and you're taking walk-ins, stuff like that. Specialized artists will have a little bit more time to get back to it. But what I always like to say is, like, if you don't have a preferred plumber and you're using Google and you call them and they don't pick up, you don't sit around waiting 2 days for them to call you back. You just call the next person on the list. So if you can't answer your phone and you can't get back to people quickly, Google Ads is not great for you. If you can, it's a game changer when it's done correctly. So keywords we use, and you can screenshot this, copy it, I don't care. There's 3 different types of ways of matches you can use for keywords. So this one in the parentheses is phrase match. And we usually keep that within 3 to 5 miles of the shop, tattoo shop near me. And that is location dependent. Like if you're in New York City and you do 5 miles, that is, 40 minutes away from you. So that's not going to work. You need to keep it within like 2 miles. Or if you're in like the middle of Oklahoma, you can probably do 15 miles. So it's all dependent. But adding these quotation marks will make it phrase match, which is essentially, it needs to be fairly close. The person has to type in something fairly close to tattoo shops near me for it to actually work. This is one of the keywords we use. Tattoo shops. This is broad match. This is like Google's algorithm do its thing and you're trusting Google. It does work. It's our second favorite, especially if we're in a smaller town where there's not a lot of traction from using what we like. So it does work. Always recommend split testing it. And then the last one in brackets is exact match. That means somebody has to type this exactly, tattoo shops near me, for your ads to show up. This works the best, always. But there's typically not a lot of traffic. So if you do this right, after a couple of months, you'll have a handful of exact match keywords that are going to start bringing people into your shop for $10 to $12. An example of successful Google ads, and I'll jump into the questions okay. Or Matt, you're getting those. So one thing about expert mode, you can make a really big ad. Like this will take up half the screen. There's even a few little things under this that it doesn't show in the preview. But if you look at most tattoo shops ads, it's going to be a title and maybe a little bit down here, like a couple of words and then nothing else. If you add all what's called extensions and site links and stuff, you can make your ad take up half a phone when somebody searches it. And who do you think somebody's going to, like somebody looking up tattoo shops near me, are they going to click the one that has all the information and looks professional, or the other 2 that are being shown that are a quarter of the size and they're just stuck at the very bottom? Being able to actually set up your ads in expert mode and have all these site links and extensions is huge. Again, we have YouTube videos on it. But also, I don't know if anybody has any experience with search ads with Google, but a click-through rate of 14% is not patting myself on the back. Actually, I didn't do it. One of my employees did, but it's a really, really good click-through rate. And that means out of everybody that saw the ad, 14% clicked on it. Typical click-through rate is usually 2 to 4%. Being successful on Google ads, split testing is key. We like to use a landing page. A landing page, actually, I'll pull one up for you real quick, is essentially just a one-page website. We use and again, this isn't absolutely necessary to use a landing page. We like to do them because they load faster than websites, unless you have really good hosting, and you can split test them, and split testing is huge. And I'll show this real quick and then you'll kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So this is a landing page for an actual client. It loads extremely quickly. It just got some information about them. We show off the work. Again, this is kind of one of those people I was talking about. He only takes on projects that are over 4 hours. But with split testing, you can very easily switch out these images, switch out the top right here. So you have 2 versions running at once, because one will always do better. And that's how you after a certain amount of time, start to get something that converts at a really high rate is split testing. That's how we're able to get extremely high conversion rate numbers and stuff like that, is because we've been split testing with hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last couple of years.
Can we get to a couple of questions really quick, Jesse?
Yes, sir. Let me
before they goes on too long. John's got a couple of good ones. Earlier he was talking about what type of ROI, I'm sorry, ROAS. I'm sorry. Are you talking? Are you mean ROIs, John?
ROAS. So
Oh,
yeah.
so it's not my world.
Yeah.
ROAS, are you seeing with shops that you're working with?
So again, it kind of depends on the shop, stuff like that. Our goal is to, for every dollar they spend, get
Steve.
between 7 to 12 out. If you're doing this on your own, like if you're a single artist and you can put $1 in and you get $3 out, $4 out, that's still a money printing machine. So it kind of depends what situation you're in and stuff like that. But those are the typicals. And then I don't know what Hayflow is, but automations, yes, as far as response time. And I'll get into that a little bit when we talk about communication. When we send out a text to somebody who has filled out a form, we have a 91% reply rate from that person. It is because we use automations that text immediately. Jessica, we can definitely do that. Anything on email campaigns? I don't think we have anything in here. Now, email's great. Like, don't get me wrong, as far as like staying top of mind, stuff like that, sending out reminder emails. I mean, we see people come into shops all the time from emails that, we'll send them put people into a nurture list. Essentially, they'll get an email once a month from a shop. It's just not a good way to reply if somebody's actually asking you to like come in and get a consultation. And again, I'll go into that when we go over the communication aspect. We have the stats, we have the numbers. But email campaigns as just kind of staying top of mind, 100%, 100%. Upload to Meta, we'll talk about that. Detail about the split testing and examples. Okay, yes, let me see if I can pull up. Here, let me pull up an ad from a shop that lets us share some other stuff. Oops.
Before we end, Jesse, are you going to be able to go over a little bit about how someone who doesn't have all this information, like me, can actually run their first ad, like just a walkthrough or something, or is that too in depth?
It's going to be too in depth, but again, in those YouTube videos of the webinars we did, like at the end, the last 15 minutes, we literally build out ads in Google and ads in Meta, like step by step.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So kind of as an example of split testing, so we have multiple images running. It's going to the same audience. It's got the same actual words on the ad, but as you can see, there's a pretty big difference in how much it's costing for people to fill out a form. So right now, the two that are going, one's 50, one's 25, and the only difference is going to be this image. So that's what I mean by split testing. Something will always be a little bit better. And sometimes you'll find drastic changes. Like we made a headline change to a landing page and split test it probably 6 months ago, and it tripled the conversion rate just by changing a couple words. It was mind boggling. But that's what I'm talking about when I say split testing. Live videos. We don't do a lot with organic stuff. Honestly, I'm not the best person to ask about live videos and stuff like that. What about paid ads on IG, like a CTA video? Yeah, kind of the same thing, just split testing. as weird as it might sound, right now, videos don't work as well as still images. That will go back and forth probably every year or so. But if you see everybody doing videos, do images. If you see everybody doing images, do videos. And one thing I do want to point out real quick, just kind of because we're talking about this. Let me expand this. So the only point of this image, the only point is to get somebody to stop scrolling. Like, you don't need to put a ton of information on there. Call out the people that you want to talk to and show them something they're going to like. That's it. That is it. The point of the image is to get them to stop scrolling and actually read this. This is the only point of this, is to get them to click this and actually go to the landing page. The only point of the landing page is to get them to fill out a form. Every step, the only point of it is to get them to the next step. So you don't have to try to put all this information, all this crazy stuff in images and copy and words and stuff like that. It's only meant, every step is only meant to take them to the next. Hopefully that made sense. You split test, one ad with, one with artist. We've tried artist picks. We've tried just tattoo picks. Typically, let's say 4 out of 5 times, the pictures of just tattoos work better, unless it's an attractive young woman. And I just say that because we literally have seen that in the data. But typically just pictures of tattoos, for some reason, some people just aren't going to like your face. It's just how it goes. Yeah, I know, right? I've noticed usually our ads do better when I don't put my ugly mug in it. So, yeah. So Google Ads, split testing is key. Use the landing page if you can. Answer your damn phone. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that. You'd be amazed how many people do not. Don't email, call, and text. Automate as much as possible. Same thing. We teach all this stuff. We do. If you look on our Inklink YouTube, like, you go towards like the last 20 minutes of the webinar in the last couple months on Google Ads and Meta Ads, we build one out step by step with the shop owners that we're on with. So social media ads, so Meta Ads versus Google advertising. Social media ads, great. It's also great for getting your shop's name out there. Definitely easier than Google Ads. Better for bigger pieces when targeting is done correctly. Few caveats to that, like, it's really easy to get big pieces that, like, if you're doing Japanese work on Google, because it's a very specific keyword. Social media, you can target by income better than Google. Google does have, better than Google, that's supposed to say Google. Google does have ways where you can target by income, but it is not nearly as effective as Meta. And then also on social media ads, you can create a lookalike audience. You can do this on Google as well, but your account has to have spent over $50,000. Don't know why Google does that. That is what it is. Caveats with social media ads, lower quality leads, especially if they're not qualified correctly, and ads burn out. Like, you can't just create an ad and let it run. Ads fatigue. Typically, somebody can see your ad about 3 times before they'll just start scrolling past it because it's just in their brain. We filter a lot of stuff out every day, and people will start to filter your ads out pretty quickly. So Google Ads, much higher intent from the person, because they're looking for a tattoo shop. They're looking up tattoo shop near me. They want a tattoo for the usually. They don't have a preferred artist. They don't have a preferred shop. You'll see a lot more like things like walk-ins, visits to your website, calls from your actual website and landline when you're running Google Ads as well. It won't all come in through the landing page because people will do some research, and then they'll go to Instagram to look at your stuff, and then they'll actually Google your the name of your shop and go to your website. So you'll see more all-encompassing stuff coming in, and again, more just people just walking into your shop. The great thing is phone calls are easier to close if you are at least semi good on the phone, which some tattoo artists aren't. But it's easier to, get somebody to come in talking to them on the phone, especially if you have any little degree of sales experience. Caveats, expert mode is much harder to learn, takes a lot of time. Honestly, recommend hiring somebody for that. Went the wrong way. Come on, buddy. Okay, why great communication is so important. It really is easy once you have an ad set up correctly to get people to contact your shop. It is extremely easy, especially if you qualify them correctly. It's a gold mine. People, like I said, will use any excuse to get tattooed. It's not hard to get people into your shop. The biggest reason we see, and this is not just tattoo shops, it's any industry, but the biggest reason we see usually smaller businesses failing with paid advertising, especially if there's people coming in, is because their communication sucks, which is, I mean, understandable. You know, no one checks the shop's DMs, or you get back to them days later. You got emails coming, you got calls, you got texts, you got DMs, you got Facebook, you got Google My Business. Who's supposed to keep track of that? Even if you have a front desk person, typically they'll get distracted or they'll forget, or they're having a bad day. And that's the first point of contact when somebody calls your shop, is this person that's not friendly. Like, I've been getting tattooed for 19 years. If I call a shop and the person sounds like a dick, I'm probably not going to show up. It's a terrible way to represent the shop. So anyway, there's a ton of different communication issues, but it's huge. And on the other side of that, if you have good communication in your shop with people, and if you have systems set up, you stand out so much compared to other shops. The average shop takes 53 hours to respond to an interested person. That's mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing. It should take you less than 5 minutes if your shop is open to get back to somebody. It takes the average shop 53 hours. Okay, quick little story. So I had 3 different people on my podcast within probably 2 months. They're all like marketing experts in different parts of marketing. And it was funny because they all had the exact same story. Like, I need to go back and put that into a compilation because it's eerie how similar they all. But all of them had essentially the same experience. One called the shop, one emailed the shop, one went into the shop. Nobody ever heard back from the shop. And now these are 3 people that make a really good amount of money, and they like tattoos. One of them wanted a full sleeve, one of them wanted a big old chest piece, and one of them wanted a giant thigh piece. Not big old chest piece, but a chest piece. The amount, these 3 people that I didn't even prompt this question, I didn't even ask them. They brought it up in the midst of conversation with them about when we were talking about tattoo shops. I mean, there's thousands of dollars just in those 3 tattoos from 3 different people, from 3 different shops. And you know, they all live in different parts of the country. But imagine how much revenue is being missed out on. Like, just those 3 over the lifetime value. Again, these people make money, they spend money. These are ideal clients. And 3 out of 3 had the exact same story, and they ended up going to different shops. But imagine, just because of poor communication, how much money is just leaking out of your shop or your business every single day. On top of that, when you have poor communication, guess what happens when that person is asked about your shop or where to go get tattooed? Not ABC Tattoo. They never even got back to me. How rude. People don't want to be ignored. People don't want to feel like they're not important. So even if you don't want to do a tattoo, as long as it's not like, hey, I want like a swastika on my forehead or something stupid like that. But even if you don't want to do a tattoo, get back to them and tell them, yeah, honestly, not my thing, but I'll refer you to this person. There's a shop owner or an artist that I had on the podcast recently, and that no matter what, he responds to it. And it ends up a lot of the time turning 3, 6, 9 months, a year down the road into a piece when they actually do want that black and gray or that color piece done by somebody, because he's already referred them. He's built rapport with them. Just don't ignore people. That's like the biggest no-no. Poor communication is the number 1 reason good marketing fails across all industries. It's not just the tattoo industry. Tattoo industry is terrible at it, but this is any industry. Okay, 10 minutes. All right, we got this. Okay, the follow-up process. So this study has been done more times than I can count. It's been done by Salesforce, which is a giant company. Microsoft, everybody knows. HubSpot. Our numbers almost exactly match this when we look in our CRM or our software that shops are using when they work with us. You are 9 times more likely to get a hold of somebody if you call or text them within 5 minutes of them trying to contact you than over 10 minutes. you are 9 times more likely to get a hold of them. When we have somebody fill out a form, or a missed call, or there's a missed call from one of the shops we're working with, we send out a text immediately. It's automated. We have a 91% response rate to those. 83% of people are going to do business with the first shop they talk to. 12% will do second or third. 5% will be the fourth. So again, if you don't pick up your phone and you don't get back to them immediately, if they're coming from Google and they just call that next shop, there's a very, very high chance that they're not going to come back to you. And so this is a study done by Microsoft. And we actually changed it for the data that we see inside of our system for tattoo shops. And I know I'm kind of harping on tattoo shops and owners, but this is like, if you change the communication in your shop, the night and day difference it has, especially when it snowballs over time and you're known as that shop that's good at communication, is giant. So typically 50% of like businesses will give up after the first time trying to contact somebody that fills out a form. For tattoo shops, 84%. After the second, 92%. After third contact attempt, 95%. And after the fourth, 97%. After the fifth, almost every shop gives up. I can tell you this, we work with a couple franchises. We work with a couple really, really big shops that have 20 plus artists. The thing that they do the best that other shops don't is they answer their phone when it rings, they get back to people quickly, and they keep following up. And again, you don't have to be annoying about it. It's not like double dial that person, text them, call them, send them an email, but makes a difference. Again, calls, easiest way to get somebody into your shop because you're talking to them. Text, you know that person is going to see it. Email, from paid advertising, we see a less than 9% response rate. If somebody fills out a form on your website and you email them, and this is from paid ads, it's different than organic. Organic people will respond longer, they'll wait longer, but we see a 9% reply rate. And this is my actual inbox, and this is the exact reason why. I am like the prime example. I have over 50,000 unread emails in my personal email. My mom emails me. I don't get them. She calls me or texts me usually 4 days later asking me if I got the email, and I say, no, why did you email me? Just call me like a normal person. And again, so another reason follow-up is so important. 3% of people are looking to buy right now. 6 to 7 are open to it, thinking about it. 90% of your ideal clients aren't in the buying mood right now. Why would you ignore them though? Like that's 90%. Only 3% are looking to buy, come get tattooed within the next month or so. 90% aren't, but will at some point. So this is what happens when somebody fills out a form for a shop we work with. And we do the same thing when people try to get a hold of InkLink if they fill out a form, if they don't book a consultation. Call them as soon as you can. If they don't answer, send a text. 1 hour later, send another text. 2 days later, send a text. 4 days later, send a text. 7, 14 days. And then after that, we'll add them to a long-term nurture list where they'll get the emails once a month from the shop. You would be amazed how many people reply and set a book a consultation on this 3rd, 4th, 5th contact attempt. You would be amazed. Especially if you can't get back within 5 minutes to that person. But it sounds crazy, like nobody's going to respond after 14 days. An amazing amount of people do. So we use a software called Go High Level. We are not affiliated with them. We do not get anything if you sign up with them. They are a $100 million company. Like they don't care about us. But we've been using them for about 2 years. And this is where you can set up all the automations that I've been talking about. Another really cool thing with this is you can get all your texts, emails, DMs, Google My Business messages, text calls, DMs, emails into one place. And you'll see when they came in and who it was from and their phone number and whatever it was, and you can respond to them through there. So instead of trying to go to Facebook and Instagram and your texts and your phone calls, like they all come into one spot. It's a really good way to cut down on missing people that are interested. And then the last thing I have, I believe, maybe there's one quick thing after this. We use a software called closebot.ai. It's, I think, $70 a month. This is an actual conversation, and this is a very typical conversation. When somebody fills out a form, this bot will reach out immediately. It's always within 1 minute. Start talking to them, build some rapport, ask them about their tattoo idea. Even though they filled out a form and we know what they want, just getting them to talk about it. People like to talk about their tattoos. For you guys, it's another day at the office. For these guys, it's an experience and they're putting something on their body for the rest of your life. But essentially it'll have a conversation. It doesn't sound like a bot. People go into shops all the time and ask for the bot by first name. But it will talk to them, then ask them a couple, about their tattoo, weekends or weekday work better. And it'll actually look at the calendar and book them for a consultation. Then that person reminders that consultation. Worth $97 or $67, I think it is. The shops we have implemented this in, it has been a game changer. Again, there's a 91% response rate because it texts so fast. And it's never in a bad mood. It's always friendly. It's not overly friendly, but it's friendly. And it sounds like a person. Nobody knows that they're talking to a bot. Okay, last thing, really quick. Know your numbers. Know the lifetime value of a client. Know cost per lead, which is how much it costs when a paid ad to get somebody to either call your shop or to fill out a form, and cost per acquisition. What does it actually cost to get somebody into your chair? Without knowing your numbers, you don't know if your advertising is working. And you can't make changes. You can't split test stuff. You can't tweak it. Again, like we went over like marketing 101. It was a ton of subjects, but there's webinars that are free on our YouTube page that like are an hour on each of the subjects that we talked about, along with live build out, stuff like that you guys can literally just copy and paste and take and it will work. Oh, don't forget. Yep. Also really quick, I'm going to throw into the chat. This is just a quick checklist of the stuff we talked over for you guys to just make a copy of it or download it. It's free, but yeah. Matt, you actually can put the bot into a Zoom chat and it can answer questions. It's kind of weird, man. I'm telling you, 5 years, Skynet's coming. But until then,
we've talked about this before. I'm a huge fan of AI, and I'm constantly building bots and refining them and getting them to do tasks for me. But obviously, that's another subject. If anyone's interested, this Wednesday in Jackpot, we have Chad Wooters from I can't remember his company right now, but that's what he is. He's an AI specialist. So we can actually go in deeper dive into some of this. Chad's going to talk a little more about how AI can help you out.
It's pretty awesome. And again, it's just a tool to help. I mean, we're probably about a year away, Matt. I believe you and I talked about this, but from when like AI bots that sound like humans are going to be able to be on the phone. It's just a tool to help your business and make sure people are directed in the right spot, get their questions answered, and that they get booked if they're interested. That's
so I think cool. I want to let Steve answer a couple of questions. But I just want to back this up really quick. Even just talking about communication, working with shop owners one-on-one. I was on a call last week and we're doing our one-on-one and he goes, 1 second. He answered the phone. He's like, nope, we don't do that here. Bye. And I was like, well, no fucking wonder you're dead, dude. Like, what did they want? Well, they wanted whatever. We don't do that. And I was like, dude, come on. So everyone, you have to pretend like they're a future. I kind of pretend like, well, it doesn't really matter what I pretend like, but just this is basic training that I think tattoo artists kind of skip out on. They don't realize. And what I got from your presentation today, which I just want to say thanks, because that level of marketing is totally different than the pipelines that I kind of create, is that all the money in the world and all the advertising in the world doesn't mean anything if you don't know the numbers and you're not nice to people when they actually contact you.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Cool.
It boils down to be pretty simple. Yeah.
Steve, you want to unmute yourself and kind of have a back and forth? Because I think you're going to get more value out of Jesse than any thing I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think me and Jesse have talked kind of slightly before, so we're kind of
hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, brother? I want to see what's going on in this place. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more, man. I'm sure we're in the same circles. Yeah, I was just going over some of your stuff. Now, with your Go High Level, can you set up your CRM with all your automatic text messages and all that stuff in there too?
Yeah, you can do, anything that we talked about outside of, well, even the bot, how we have it communicate is through Go High Level. But yeah, everything we talked about, like all our systems for the shops we work with, all our systems for InkLink are built out and go high level, all the automations, everything.
Now, do you see a lot of people correlating their responses through text messages or through DMs on Instagram?
So text messages for how we do stuff. Because typically when we run ads, we're not sending people to send a DM. We're not having people send a DM to the shop. We're having them go to a landing page and then fill out a form. And it's one of those things that people that are more on that tire kicker side just aren't going to take the time to do. So we want to put up a couple of steps to make it not hard, but enough that somebody that is not serious at all is typically just gonna like, I'm not gonna do it.
That's why I mentioned HeyFlow, and there's some other ones out there too that you actually can have a bot style response in the DMs that actually starts off the first few questions or the first few, you know, hey, how's it going? Oh, no problem. And then you jump in after a certain amount of time. Because what I've seen, and I'm sure we've all talked to the same people. I know who we're talking about here. The response time of tattooing is you gotta be quick. People are looking to get like an answer because they're booking appointments or whatever. So it's almost like down to like, I think what 90 seconds usually is like the sweet spot of like answering your phone, answering a reply. So there are ways you can insert this. Like I think HeyFlow is one of them we use, or there's some other ones out there. ManyChat I think was one too.
That was good.
ManyChat's a good one too, and you can do that within the DM. I find myself, I'm in the West Coast. So I don't know if it's regional depending where you're at, because I know I had a lot of friends who live out in Arkansas and they're more Facebook friendly out than they are Instagram. So kind of depending on where you're at is what they're going for, right? You see a correlation on the coast, it's a little more Instagram, in the middle it's more Facebook, right? So I know there's ways you can do that too, because I fish out a lot of my personal ones through Instagram. Because most likely they've kept you, they've been on your thumb for a while. So I know there's some setup there too. You can do along with text messages and email blasts and, you know, responses and whatnot.
Yeah, and with high level, you can connect your DMs to it, so it's also in that pipeline, and then you can even like set up the bot to respond there. That's something we're working on. So it'll be when somebody fills out a form, when there's a missed call at the tattoo shop, when somebody DMs them, when somebody hits them on Facebook, Google My Business, emails, like there's so much potential there. Even we haven't fully tapped into it. We're beta testing it, but like,
yeah,
I mean, right now is the worst it's ever going to be. Well, it's going to be crazy in 2 years. Like it's,
well, yeah,
I mean,
it's what they
but...
say. It's not AI is taking over. It's the ones who know how to use AI. It will be
Exactly.
over, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, Matt.
Thanks, Steve. No, this is what these are for. This is, so if you've ever, this is like an extension of what we do in our Jackpot meetings. We present and then we start asking questions. And I knew that you were the person that needed to be asking the questions because I don't have the language for this end of marketing. I know how to make pipelines. I know how to leverage people's networks. I know how to do A/B clients and get rid of C clients. But this is why I'm befriending Jesse with this stuff.
Yeah, I've talked to Jesse before, and I'm a 20-year tattooer, but I've turned into a marketing, branding guy too on the side too, outside of that. So I'm speaking both sides here. Like I'm between Matt. I'm really right between Matt and Jesse right now. Like, all right, this is what he means. This is what he means. Like, you know what I mean? And there's also obviously a lot more to unpack. I feel like what I find when I try to tell people about this stuff, and it was foreign a long time ago, about ads. Well, it's cool that you have ads, but is your content good? Is your SOPs from the minute they walk in to the minute they walk out good? Because if you don't have that good, what's the point of running ads? What's the point? There's no point. Right. You got to have your content's got to be first. You kind of don't want to jump the shark too soon with this stuff and just throwing out crap. There's a lot of stuff in between, but this is stuff once you have it, that part dialed in, which everybody's confident on, you know, that you can really take advantage of more than, I mean, tattooers take what, 10 years to adopt anything? They're really slow to turn the tide. And once they do, then, oh my God, everybody's got iPads. You know what I mean? It's whatever.
Yeah, that was one of the actual last webinar we did was only on the communication piece because it's such a big deal and like it just gets skipped over. Like tattoo artists, as you guys know, are artists in every sense of the word. Not always the best communicators and usually when if you can get somebody into the shop in front of the artist, like they're great. They're great with people. Sometimes via DM or text or phone calls, it can sound be a little short, sound a little grumpy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the big thing.
What I've seen too with that too, I know people who do fish out their messages through Instagram. If you don't respond back, hey, like, you know, how many we had here, like, hey, when are you available? Or are you able to do a tattoo? Don't respond back next week. No, just pick up your phone, do a video message. Hey, what's up? person's name. Yeah,
That's
I'm
a good
dude. This
idea.
is at least the first one or two. So you know you're a real person, and then you can bot. But anyways,
I like that. That's a good idea. Yeah.
we do our other thing that we suggest. I work also in the fitness world too, so it's a really personal, hands-on. You still use all these services, but they prove that you're a real person. You say their name. Use some simple stuff, like you would in the middle of the shop across the dummy board. Talking to somebody.
Yeah.
The dummy wall, I should say.
Yeah,
Jesse,
exactly.
thanks, Steve. Jesse, is there any last final words you want us to remember before we end this segment?
I mean, really, if you're going to do a couple of things, like I said, that link that I put in there, it's got essentially a checklist of stuff to do. If you only take two things away from this, learn the lifetime value of a client, set up that past client list. It's the two easiest things you can do. They take the least amount of time and you'll have them for the rest of your life. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to message us. We teach everything we do. People want to learn it. But like I said, everybody's seen how much the industry has changed post-COVID. Give it 5 more years. Like what we're talking about now, if you get into this stuff, it's like early adopter and you learn how to do it right. Because in 5 years, when there's double the amount of shops and artists that there are right now, which is already an insane amount compared to 3 years ago, this stuff is going to be mandatory and people are going to start getting pushed out. And it is, it used to be if you were a good artist, that's all you really needed. You didn't have to be the friendliest person. Now there's a million really, really good artists. There's kids coming out of college that have been drawing their entire life that are super friendly. So it is changing in like it's not a taboo industry anymore. It's becoming less and less of one, and that's just the way it's gonna go.
I agree. And it's like you can almost segment each market into there's this kind of niche style tattooing the shops are doing, maybe like the top 10, 15%. Then there's like the gist of the people who are running quality shops. And then there's a lot of, I hate to say it, there's a lot of imitators or imposters, people just going through the motions and they don't understand why nothing works. So really, I just want to remind people that even though there are a lot of shops, if you put a lot of these basics in place, you're not in competition with most of them. You're not. And so when you're just doing some of these basic things, with that, I want to say thanks, Jesse. And if you can drop any more information into the chat, that would be awesome.